Today's conversation actually comes from me stalking Lauren's Instagram and recent conversations she's had with clients. And I know I'm definitely guilty of this in my own dating life of showing up on a dating profile or just in my own the energy I'm putting out there is don't waste my time. A lot of
Yeah.
it comes from self-protection. And so we're just really diving into like what actually is happening inside of us when we show up with that mindset towards dating, how we can walk through it, having conversations about building self-trust. Lauren, I loved what you had to share about the fact that oftentimes when we have this mentality, there's an area in our life where we're not actually trusting ourselves. And so we actually talk a little bit about how we can do that better.
Yeah, and I like the part that you amplified about the fact that we don't have to be perfect at this. In fact, that's not required at all to be successful at dating, but honoring what's actually happening is it's the flex.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we even kind of jump in a little bit to how do you know you're ready to date, whether you've gone after a breakup or you've just taken a little bit of a break in your dating journey just to kind of breathe. Talk a little bit about that and how you can show up with openness. And so, cannot wait for you to listen. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Dating and Desire podcast, a place for conversations and resources on sexual formation for adult Christians.
I'm Lauren Matthews.
And I'm Bridgett Blood.
Together, we combine our years of ministry experience and time as certified coaches, helping men and women just like you navigate dating in a way that honors your core values.
Each week, you'll hear us talk to therapists, pastors, coaches, and other leaders in the field of sexuality and relationships.
While we acknowledge believers hold various perspectives on this topic,
We're gathered around the belief that our desire is holy
our body is good.
and our story matters.
Let's dive in.
I always tell you this, but it's because it's true. I just really believe that you're wisdom embodied. Yes, I'm very sure that you are human, um, but just really, really appreciate. I think as we started our friendship in the beginning of all this, it was like your little clips on Instagram, or I was just like, oh my gosh, like nobody's saying that, but everybody needs to be saying that. And so I just really, really appreciated just the way that you talk about things that they're not I don't like, they're not fancy forward, but they're all the things that's like, oh no, she just said the thing. She just said the thing. And so one of the things that we have been talking about personally is this whole idea of when we show up in dating and we feel very self-protective and we're like, I don't want you to waste my time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even starting to try to connect with someone on an app, in real life, talking to a friend about a setup, when you notice this requirement that an interaction be a particular thing before it even happens, you're cutting yourself off from all the things that help you know the exact thing you want to know. Do I like this person? Is it comfortable in their presence? Can that grow? Do I think they're attractive? So, yeah, I had a client conversation recently in which my client said to me she was feeling a lot of pressure to know something on date 2, and the phrasing she used was, "I don't wanna waste his time." And because I care for my client, my hackles got up. I was like, wait a second now. You can't be holding yourself responsible for this other person's job." So, um, in one regard, when we say, "Don't waste my time," we're kind of giving the onus, responsibility of our discernment, of our decision making to someone else. We're saying to them, "You need to protect me," when really that's an inside job.
Yeah. So what overall, with this client, like I said, I feel this in my experience of dating too, is where do you think that comes from? Like, where is this pressure of like, oh my gosh, like I have to know right now all this information? How are we even getting to that place?
I think part of it, Bridget, is superhuman. It's really, really human to want to acquire the thing we desire. So I don't think we have to completely denigrate the desire not to waste your time. We've all heard stories where someone dated someone for a super long time. Or I heard a story recently in which This person wasn't even actually dating, but just was like in this woman's atmosphere. And when he observed someone else about to ask her out, he lost his mind and was like, I've known her for a year and a half, having done nothing. So like what I'm getting at is I think part of
Sure.
it is human. We want to connect. We want this to work. Um, I think that's part of it. I think another part, um, trying not to make this my favorite whipping boy, but I think in purity culture there are some really deep-seated messages about using yourself up in this way, giving yourself to other people as using yourself, and you only want to give yourself to one person. But I think that flies in the face of what scripture reminds us community is, what the church is, all of Paul's messages about one anothering. So I think we've labeled like getting to know people and sharing common humanity as giving parts of our heart away, or crumpling our rose, or chewing up our gum, or any of the other horrible word pictures. Those are a couple of things that come to my mind as why our default might be to say, don't waste my time. What comes to your mind? What makes it feel like, yeah, I don't want to waste my time, and maybe cutting yourself off from a relationship?
Yeah, I think for me, there's fear of fear of me over investing in someone who's not invested in connection with me. But I think that goes back to, the idea of that's putting my personal responsibility for boundaries and discernment on somebody else of like where right, like I forgot where it came from, if it's from Brene Brown or whoever it is. It's like boundaries are the distance I can love you and me at the same time. And so, right, like, I mean, this is the whole danger of like a situationship, right? Is like, wait, here I am. I'm showing up with a lot of emotional commitment to you, and there's not actually relational trust and relational commitment, like present to say, oh, you're worth me sitting by the phone to say, hey, do you wanna go hang out on a Friday night? Not just like, I have a crush on you. Like, I'm just gonna sit by the phone all day. And yeah, I think it's just taking the responsibility, but that's scary because there's this part of me that goes, um, I just don't wanna get hurt.
Yeah. Which is fair, right? We're not masochists. We don't, by and large, we don't want pain. But at the same time, I hear what you're saying, Bridget, as something like, how will how will I know when to call it? Like the paradox of the situationship is there's enough there that feels like real potential, but what am I going to observe that helps me make a good decision of, okay, you're you're not showing up in the way that I need you to, so I'm out.
Yeah. And that's so different for everybody. I was talking to a girlfriend about this the other day, and she just was like, "Hey," so like we were just processing through a recent situation I had, and she was like, "Well, I'm curious what's happening for you there." She's like, "Because there's enough information for me that I would have already made my decision, but that's okay that you didn't have enough information yet." And I think there's also just like this gray space for us to enter into. That's like, yeah, like what one person needs for closure to move forward and say, "Hey, this is just not a good fit for me." It's not the same as somebody else. Um, and that's okay and that's part of it. But I also feel this. I guess I have questions as far as like you talked about personal responsibility of choice. Can you
Yes.
tell me more a little bit of like can you unpack a little more what that means?
Yeah, I mean, I love the quote that you gave about what a boundary is, that definition of boundary where I love both of us, like the line where I can love both of us well. Um,
Yeah.
when I think about personal responsibility, part of what's scary in dating, part of what's scary is the idea that what if I tap out too soon? What if this person would have been able to pull it together, adjust, learn how to love me well or relate to me well, but I just was impatient. and I tapped out too
Yes.
soon. So there's a real fear. And I don't know that we can eliminate that. I don't know that what we're trying to do in developing a way that we date effectively includes eliminating the possibility for missing out on someone. What I will say is nothing is lost, and so many important things are gained when we grow in our ability to trust ourselves, to say, we've been messaging in an app for a week, and you have made no moves to get this off of the app. And so for me, I'm going to say, I don't feel that as enough interest. Or I asked you for your phone number 10 days into messaging on the app and you said no, and you take half of weeks to respond to my messages. It's cool. You don't have to make me a priority, but it's not the level of interest that I'm going to keep investing in. Just as a tactical example of something on the front end of dating. It's
Yep.
scary. And
Mhm.
the thought comes to mind, what if this is my person? And if I would have been just a little bit more patient, um, I would have gotten something. But I think personal responsibility tells us I can't control other people. I can't know the future. The God of the universe doesn't require me to live a beautiful life and know the future, or else he would have given me the beautiful gift of clairvoyance. So that means I have to make a good call for myself each moment and trust in the grand scheme of things. What's for me is for me. My God has let put down my steps for me. And also, I'm making a decision. And when we translate this to other areas of life, Bridget, like
Yeah.
business building, like
Mhm.
job searching, like looking for a church, like
Mhm.
trying to find a physician or a dentist or any other thing, it helps the stakes be a little bit lower and helps us see, I hope, a little more clearly. Yeah, at some point we have to accept we're just making a call. We're making a call, trusting we can try to change it if it becomes bad, clear that it was not the right call,
Yeah.
and owning that it might just be a good call, a good enough call.
Mhm. I love that example, like, I'm thinking about the physician because, like, if we were, like, taking it completely out of dating, but actually doing that, like, parallel. Let's say, you have some sort of physical issue you need support on. You've heard incredible things about this specific specialist where you're like, "This is the person I need to go to, I really wanna see." You might be okay sitting on a waiting list for 6 months. Of like, okay, this is the person I want to see. I might need to wait 6 months for them. It might be one of those things where you go, okay, the physical issue that I'm dealing with isn't severe, like maybe is severe enough, or there's a more convenient option where I can go in town, I can see this PA, I can see this whoever that meets the need. And it's like we would never think about like one's settling or one's not trusting. It's just like, okay, what works? But I mean, I feel that in dating of like, wait, like, yeah, when you think about the dynamics of this, of hey, um do I want to give this that much time? Like, am I okay with a message every 10 days? If the answer is sure, like, great, I've got other connections I'm making that feels good to me. But when the answer is no, this doesn't feel good to me,
Mhm.
um, I think that's a really huge thing in like the self trust compartment is like, are you showing up as the full version of yourself? Now that doesn't mean it's not uncomfortable, right? Like,
Right.
I think about um if I was in a new s if I had I think about when I just moved to Nashville. I've been here for 3 years, but when I first moved to Nashville, I think about, like, the capacity I had in dating is very different now that I'm settled here.
Hmm.
And I think about, like, for some men, that could have been a thing of, like, "Oh, I don't necessarily have the capacity to be dating someone that's still trying to orient to a city." It doesn't mean anything's wrong with me or anything's wrong with them. I'm like, I just don't know that I have the capacity to carry that. Where, vice versa. Like I might have this is a very moving city. So there might be a person that moves in here and be like, oh, I'm like, okay, cool. Sure. I'd love to show you around, but to keep it really lighthearted of like, I'm not necessarily jumping in to a serious relationship the first week that you've moved to town because I know that that person has 100 other things that they're carrying in moving to a new town.
Yes. Yes. Like, I'm glad that you brought up self-trust. I think, uh, yeah, as our friendship has grown, one of the things I've learned about you is that you are one of the most emotionally courageous people I've ever engaged with. Like, you you care for yourself well, but you are so emotionally courageous, and I know that that comes with its experiences of fear, but, like, when I think about, someone being willing to say, "I don't know where this is gonna go. All I know right now is that you're attractive enough to me physically and interesting. You're interesting. I'm curious about you, so I'm going to go on a date." It requires this courage to not hold yourself hostage, to, like, know something you can't know, and to trust that when it stops, and this gets tricky, when it stops feeling good, when it stops feeling right, you're gonna be able to, interrogate those feelings well, effectively, in community probably, and you're going to be able to make a good decision, and the other person is going to keep trekking with you enough to leave space for that. So,
For sure.
part of why this is terrifying is because it's it's terrifying. There are so many moving pieces and parts that you have no control over. Parts that you're learning internally and parts that you have no control over. How is this other person going to respond? Will they be patient? Will they get super upset that I needed to pump the brakes? Let alone all of their own stuff that they're working through because both parties are doing the same thing.
Yeah. I it actually comes from I had a mentor of mine. This was about leaving a job. This wasn't even about relationships, but I apply it to dating all the time. Is she said, "You'll know it's time to leave when staying requires you to compromise the integrity of who you are." And I think, when we're talking about this phrase of like, don't waste my time compared to, hey, I'm gonna like say yes to one date at a time. Like I'm saying yes to one conversation. I'm saying yes to 1 hour. I'm not saying yes to a lifetime with this person. I'm saying yes to one more day. And um, I do feel like I'm the eternal optimist of like, okay, great. And I also have had the luxury of being really deeply connected to relational health. I mean, I have a lot of therapist friends, a lot of coach friends. It's just very normal. So I'm like, great, there's like endless possibilities. But I think there is this kind of this gut check moment where we go like, ooh, hey, like for me to move forward with this person, like it requires that I have to like dim a part of who I am. I have to get a little, like I have to get small. And I know it feels really tempting. It feels really, really tempting in especially in the early stages of like, "Wait, but they're really attractive and I have a lot of fun with them, like, I know we're not aligned on this thing, but, like, it's okay, like, I can just keep going, it's not a big deal," but you feel that gut like, gut check that's like, I'm not super sure about this." Um, and I know this gets complicated because it's like, well, is it just my anxiety? Is it, um
Right. What is it?
am I and I miss it. But I think going back to your point of like, oh, is it gonna be me that messes up my person? And I think w because I believe so highly of men, which that's we're gonna have lots of conversations about that. Because I believe so highly of men, I have to believe that, first of all, like, I only go on dates with incredible men. Like, I mean, I have had such great
Come
time. Like,
on.
I I go on dates with incredible men, and just
I
because
love
they're great men doesn't mean that they're forever partners for me. But to be like, he is a grown adult, and if he experiences pain with my request for reassurance or pacing or safety or whatever it is, like, it is his responsibility as an adult to communicate what his need is in the middle of my request. So it is not my responsibility to be his mom to say, like, is it okay? Are you okay? Like, I don't have to hover him. I don't have to, like, I just get to say, hey, this is who I am. And in the sense of like releasing it that we're all trying to figure this out. We're all terrified, right? Like being brave to date, not even just to date, but being brave to participate in connection with another human being means that I'm going to mess up. There's going to be things I say or do that are hurtful or like confusing or different culturally from someone else or different from the family structure I grew up in, and, like, that's really okay, but I think that's part of that self-trust piece is, like, I am only responsible what's happening for me, but I also, like, find it very, very attractive for a man to say, "Hey, I really wanna meet you in this pacing, this safety, this request. When you ask me like this, it feels a little abrasive to me." Like, right? Because just like, going back to the, "Oh, don't waste my time" thing,
Mhm.
that can be a very, like, that screams very wounded.
It's it's giving hurt. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's saying, "I don't trust myself, and I don't trust you to treat me well. I don't trust you to treat me well. I don't trust myself to extricate myself from the situation when I notice, oh, I'm being disrespected or disregarded or, in any other way disabused." Like, we it it does indicate something like, yeah, a pause that needs to be addressed. Is there some wound that needs to be tended to, or do you need a little bit of time? I mean, in a lot of ways, this is the consummate question. After a breakup or after a long break of dating, when do I know I'm ready to get back out there? And I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Like, if your disposition or your actual dating profile says, don't waste my time, it might be good to pump the brakes and check in with your heart and check in with your people to help reorient to realities that the reality that you can make a good call for yourself and other people don't have to tend to that for you. You can do that for yourself. You're capable.
I love that. One of the phrases I use a lot, with my friend Krista is internal resource.
Hmm. What is
And
that?
so it's the idea, that I like, God made me to be a whole human being, and I have the Holy Spirit inside of me. So I have resource to the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. And so I am not going to another person to be a resource. Like,
Oh,
they can be a co-creation of love resource with me, but they can't be the source of love for me. And so that's something I've been saying a lot of, like, hey, like, I have a love source that's not human. Like, that is Jesus. And so when I can show up to people is to say, hey, like, you are worth, let's just even say a coffee date, right?
yeah.
I'm like, you as a human being, as a man made in the image of God, like, I can show up when I can. I guess that's, Eve, I loved your question of, like, well, how do you know you're ready to be in a dating space of, like, can I authentically say I can show up kindly and open to honor this other person for the 1 hour that I've said yes to? That doesn't need to be that, you know, I'm ready to get married next week. That just is a, hey, can I with integrity show up and say, hey, for 1 hour, I can be open and connecting, and kind of like even to paying attention to, like, the body resource part of that. If I think about, when I've had girlfriends that are like, hey, I'd love to get together and do dinner Friday night. Do you want to do that? And then the week happens. And then I'm like, ooh, hey, lots of guilt. It's Friday at 3, and I know we're supposed to connect in a few hours. I'm feeling so exhausted from this week. I'd love to connect with you. If you want to come over in your sweatpants and hang out, I'd love to do that. But if you want to do dinner, can we reschedule for Tuesday night? I have it open, and I would love to hear all about your trip to Europe or whatever it was. And so I think there's, like, that piece of, like, being aware of what you have to give. And it's okay that there are seasons. I definitely have had seasons where the honest answer is I do not have internal resource to share with another person in a dating space. Like, I'm trying to figure out what's happening in my own heart and my life. And I can't with integrity show up and say, um, I can, um, like, owning the responsibility of, like, I don't know that I'm in a place where I can show up, and regardless of what happens, I'm okay. because there are just seasons that are really delicate where I'm like, that's not sure for me. There are other seasons where I'm like, absolutely. Like, I can show up, I can make a new friend, I can have a conversation, and that feels totally fine. Um, but I think
Yeah.
it's depending on the season.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me wonder what what's required, what is required. And and okay, so to go back a little bit, part of what's challenging about being able to show up and not expect someone else to not waste our time is that we want sometimes we can err on the side of prescriptions. We want
Mhm.
the way that something's supposed to happen. And our conversation today is showing, well, I think it's several times we mentioned there isn't that. There are a handful of things that are prescriptive in Western modern dating, and there's a lot of nuance, not sin, not foolishness, just
Yes.
nuance. So I think that's a really important point to amplify. Like, if we're requiring that there be one way to do this, we're going to set ourselves up for real frustration because there just isn't. So we're kind of approaching each dating scenario with an openness. I really love your question of like, can I show up here for this 1 hour, for this dinner, for this coffee, and wholeheartedly be in the presence of another person, not judging him, not judging myself, not trying to impress him, but just being and noticing, being present, and then later, maybe in a notebook, noticing what was that like for me? Do I want to do that again? Um, that feels really, really wise and so important to offer, not just yourself, but your date. What a kindness to just be human with another person, um, along the path of discovering, are you my person?
Okay, so I'm curious what your coaching perspective is on this. So for people like me that I definitely lean towards giving people too much time. Like, I have grown leaps and bounds in this in my own life. I think a lot of my family story and my attachment history and all of those types of things have like, okay, cool. So I think there is wisdom in saying, um, I have a right to express what I need. But I'm curious like how you go about that point when you're like, no, I actually do have a fear. If if someone's listening and they're like, no, I actually do have a fear because like I think sometimes I'm like in kind of like that whole thing that's really popular right now, like toxic empathy of like you're being empathetic to like, well, I understand their trauma history. And, if you understood how their parents were acted and it's like all these, they sound like kind excuses. Like they sound really nice of like, oh, you're trying to be really empathetic and really understanding. But in reality, I could take ownership of, no, I'm just kind of like, I'm participating I'm participating in someone who doesn't actually have the capacity to partner with me.
Yeah, yeah. I love this question. It brought to mind a particular client situation I think will help clarify this. So I was working with a woman who connected with a great guy on an app. He lived within an hour of her. And in our conversations, I tend to coach clients to get to an in-person interaction pretty directly. So I don't think it should take a month to get to an in-person date if y'all live an hour or less from each other. So in our conversations with this client, I kept hearing about this guy, and it would be like, it was 1 week, it was 2 weeks. We get to like 4.5, 5 weeks, and he still can't get to a date. And he shared a lot of information, things he's insecure about, challenges he's facing. And so the rub for this client was, how long do I like? We're connecting on really good levels. There are good things
Yeah,
here,
for
but
sure.
he is 45 minutes away and won't get to me. And I told her that we don't have to know all the inner workings of this person's life to determine, for me, it's not going to take 4 weeks to get to a first date. So
Yes.
this is tricky. I'm not trying to prescribe it, but I think part of the discerning is having some parameters for yourself, some go-to guardrails for how long you want to be in an app, how long you want to just talk on the, how many phone conversations you want to have or video calls before a first date, how long you want to wait between dates within reason for how far away this person is. And then from there, within those guardrails, you get to say, okay, what do I know about this person? Is this something that I want to push right up against my guardrail? Or
Yeah.
do I think in general that's not warranted? It's a discernment thing, but I think the discernment starts with some reasonable expectations for how long we're going to talk. And then the last thing I'll say about this before I turn the question to you is I think it requires some real courage in actually executing, actually cutting something off when it's been 6 weeks of texting and they live up the road and they still won't say yes to your offers for coffee or um, have not talked about getting together in real life at all. Um, yeah, what comes to your mind for that question?
Yeah, I think something that's really helpful for me that what is appropriate for new friendships,
Hmm.
right? Like if I was just trying to meet with a new friend, I met someone at church or walking club or wherever, and I wanted to go have coffee with them. If I had been having conversations for 5 weeks with someone, like I would lose a lot of identity in that. Like, oh, obviously what you're capable of giving me is actually not what I need to start a friendship. Um, I'm just not going to reach out to that person. But because, again, there's this good, beautiful, God given biological, you know, wiring in us to move towards people we can make babies with.
Yeah.
Right? There's this like, oh, well, maybe I'll blur that line a little bit. Like maybe it's actually not working for me, but like maybe I'm being too judgmental and they just started a new job and yada yada. But I think it is okay of like, okay, like, would you be that lenient if it was just a friend?
Ooh, I love
And
that.
we're not saying lenient and like you're supposed to have all these harsh like do this for me or I'm kicking you out of my life. Like that's not what we're talking about. But just this like, hey, you're interesting to me. I want connection with you. Are we both putting in the same amount of effort to build connection? And I think that's really really important that I always like to say that like connection has to come before commitment. And so I think a lot of times we move in dating at this pace of like, let me commit to something when I don't actually even know if we can have safe connection. And connection is like, is there attraction? Is there fun? Is there safety? Is there consistency of like you're showing up when you say you're gonna show up, you're calling when you say you're gonna call. Like if you have to change plans, which is totally appropriate and okay, there is a kind, honest reason and a follow-up of this is when I can show up for you. I'd love to reschedule for this time. And I think that's just really, really important in the beginning is just the like, can I have a friendship with you, period? And actually not try to make it this big commitment thing. Um, and um I think that there is a natural progression towards commitment, which when things like I would say, yeah, I definitely have friends of mine that have a wider range of time that they're comfortable talking on an app before they're ready to be in person than I do. I like those things to be really short, um, but short enough of like, is there some sort of, is there enough banter where it feels good? If it's like conversation where I'm like, ugh, I just leave bored,
Yeah,
that's
if it's
that's not
just
going to work so much for me.
right, if it's just hi on the app for 6 weeks, absolutely not. Well, and what you said, Bridget, makes me think about the receiving end of that, like, when you notice within yourself, for whatever reason, you're unwilling to cut it off, but you're not inclined to move toward this person, like, I think we need to relinquish like, let go of guilt for not liking somebody who likes you, and own it's okay what to not feel the same way. You don't have to keep it
Yeah,
going. Like in at a party when you get cornered by someone and you're having a conversation you're not super geeked about, but you stay in it because where do I go? What do I do? There's only 20 people here. It's going to be obvious. Like unlike that in apps, in texting, when you notice don't want to move towards you anymore, and it's not because 'cause I'm busy at work. Something shifted. I don't think you even have to know what shifted, like, in an effort to tell the other person, but when you notice that, it is kindness to say, "You're awesome. You're a great person, and it has been lovely interacting with you. I don't sense this moving forward romantically, and I want
Yeah.
to be clear about that. And
Yeah.
I send you with a blessing." You don't have to say I send you with a blessing, but, like, owning, "This isn't it anymore, and I wanna be clear about that."
A joke I always make is God bless you and keep you far away from me.
"Cause his face to shine
Uh,
upon you over there, away from me."
yes, over there. Yeah, I get that, and there is pain, like,
Sure.
there is pain in there is pain in that, but again, like, that's not your responsibility. Like, I have been on both sides of that conversation, and so to be able to say that, like, honesty is beautiful. Like, honesty is beautiful. I'd rather have a really hard conversation that's honest than the loneliness of participating in an experience where someone already has made the decision that they don't want to be in it.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's really important. Um, so yeah, we're kind of just dancing around this whole idea of in the dating process, having trust built with yourself is really, really important. And I think to say that when I think about building self trust, that doesn't mean that I operate on an island by myself. I have a handful of friends that when something feels funny to me, so like let's just take that situation, right? Like, okay, I've gone on a couple dates. I'm like, maybe I'm not sure. Am I just being too picky? Like, is this just me? Do I give it more time? Yada, yada. Like, I'm bringing that to people that know enough of my story to go, hey, I'm curious what happens for you in this dynamic. Like, is this actually about this person and not being, attracted to them? Or is this fear of this person doesn't live in my city? And so I'm hitting a fear of, ooh, this is uncomfortable for me, but I'm still interested. There's a very big difference between um, this is un- this is uncomfortable. I don't want to be here, and this is uncomfortable. It's just requiring me to step out of my comfort zone.
Yes. Yes, being able to discern that there's a lot that you can do on your own, but we need our people to really bless us with their knowledge of us, their knowledge of our stories, and keep us kind of like on the straight path. The other part of that comes up for me when you're talking about self-trust is that we don't have to be in specifically dating relationships to be nurturing and growing our self-trust, even though we want to apply it for dating. Self-trust is something that we get to just have. We get to be growing in, with our friends, with our places of employment, in our church communities, with our professionals that offer us services, with our doctor. Like, did they listen when I said, "Hey, no, my left ankle, it feels weird." Do I like the way they asked follow-up question? Like, all of those interactions can be opportunities to grow in, what was I feeling? Did I feel heard? What part of me wanted to hide? And what part of me wishes I would've, like, said more or expressed more? We're always capable of building self-trust. Because I think sometimes we can think these skills for dating or romantic relationship are in isolation. Um, they are categorically different, and what I would say is, like, there are categorically different expressions of these skills that will happen in a romantic relationship across the spectrum of commitment, but we're humans, and so God is so kind that, um, there's so much overlap in the way we're growing in confidence to interact with every human, including these humans that we have romantic attraction to or are curious about romantic potential.
Reminds me of an interaction I had recently. I have a new friend that I met at a conference, and she invited me to show up to an event that she's helping host helping with the hospitality team of the event. And so I offered, I said, do you have all the help that you need? And she said, well, typically I take all the help I can get, but there's a specific team hired for this event, so I'm okay. And she's like, but can I let you know the day before, the evening before the event, or the event morning if I need more help. And so there's this moment where I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling some guilt, which I love guilt, which is, we'll talk more about, that. I think that guilt does a really good job of helping our needs. So I do feel this guilt of, oh no, I'm the one that initiated. I'm the one that said, do you need help? But what she needed help with, like, she needed someone that she could call the morning of the event and say, hey, with my schedule that day, I couldn't say yes to that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so there's this moment where I'm like, okay, I offered, right? Let's just, just taking it out of romance, but we can parallel. I offered connection.
Yeah.
What she needed for connection, I could not give that day to
Yeah.
honor the rest of the yeses I made. So I said, oh, wow. I was like, typically I am the person, and I communicated that. I'm like, typically I am the person. You call me and say, let's go with the flow. That's great. Unfortunately, my schedule that day, I can't do that. So I'm not going to be able to help with this event, but I would love to attend it. And so it just was like this, right? But there was this moment in my body where I went, oh no, like I feel a little bit of guilt. But it passed. I processed it, and there's great connection, and the event was great, and all of those types of things. And so I do think about that in dating, of like, if you know, don't waste my time. I think about the people. This I see this a lot with my clients,
Same.
of like, one person is in a season capacity where dating one person at a time feels really comfortable for them, and the other person is open to being more casual and going on dates with multiple people. Like, how do you honor both people in that dynamic when one person's like, hey, I'm only talking to you, but the other person goes, okay, thank you for letting me know. I'm actually in a season where, as I'm practicing my dating skills, I'm talking to a few people. And how I always kind of talk about that dynamic is, what do you have the capacity to hold?
Yes.
Like, is it really okay for you to say, and again, I go back to friendship, because it would be so strange of me to say, um, Lauren, you're not allowed to talk to any other friends except for me.
Right? It would be an immediate red flag. Like, I would be like, Bridget, what's happened? I mean, I love you, so I'd be like, what, are you okay? What's
Yes.
happening? But like, if we
Yes.
weren't that close, I'd be like, okay, she wants to be my other life partner. What's happening right now? I can't.
Yes, but that's also okay to say, hey, we've been dating casually for 8 weeks now. I'm at a place where, for me to continue forward, I need a decision of whether or not you want to pursue connection just with me, or if you're still in a pause place. And that question comes up of like, oh my gosh, well, like, if I just was more understanding, maybe I would give it more time. Like, what if this person, and this can be a guy too, like maybe you're a guy listening, and you're the one saying, she's been seeing other people. I'm at a point now where I'm like, okay, it's been 6 or 8 weeks. I'm ready to, again,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you're ready to marry her, but
But
you're
be
ready to
exclusive.
build connection solely with her.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a space to go, okay, I hear you, and I hear your need in that. And you honor it and say, um, I've really loved our connection. If that changes for you in the future, I'm happy for you to give me a call. At this point forward, like, I'm not comfortable moving forward. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to leave it kindly is to say, okay, great. I think you're incredible. I think there is connection here that I would like to pursue more. I just can't pursue that in these dynamics any further. So it's okay that you were okay with that. I think this is a huge part of the wasting the time, is understanding that your needs get to change.
Hmm. Yeah, we're not locked into one thing. We
Mm-mm.
can't be, because when I barely know you, I'm at one place. So you're saying what's most important is paying attention to, what do I need right now? And how can I bravely show up and ask
Yeah.
for what I need
Mhm.
without denigrating myself or the other person for just not needing the same thing?
Yeah. And to take responsibility. Again, that's responsibility of, if someone says no, then that doesn't mean that I have to shrink and go, okay, I'll just do whatever you want me to do because I'm afraid of losing you. But to be like, okay, I hear you, and I hear that your need is different. I'm still going to choose to back up now.
Yeah, yeah.
And if there are places and spaces in the future where these paths cross again, great. There have been situations where I leave a connection and I go, oh, I don't want our paths to cross again. And then there are other situations where I go, huh, I have enough curiosity about this person that if it worked out in the future, I'd be open to having a conversation again.
Yeah.
And you're not having to like box it into like just because I said no today means I said no to ever. Or I said no to forever. Or just because I said yes today means I said yes to forever. Like I'm just taking things one day at a time. And that would be the same in friendship, right? I mean, even thinking about a job, right? Obviously, and I understand that in a lot of jobs, you sign a contract to be there for a certain amount of time. But in the dating process, this is a great opportunity for me to build my skills, to grow as a person, to honor someone else,
Yeah.
to say yes to a vision, right? Just as you're saying, if you're getting a job, and to say, okay, great, until, or even going back to what my mentor said, like, until me being in this relationship requires that I have to shrink sometime, I'm happy to stay here and to flourish with this person.
Yeah. I think one of the places we really get tripped up, men and women, is that when the other person is has a different need and we have to cut it off, not I mean, what I see, what I have felt is like, "Oh, this was my only chance."
Yeah.
And so now if I don't hang on, i.e., allow a situationship, or yeah, if I don't hang on, I'll never get the thing that I want. And I think what an absolute act of faith in a good God and his kindness toward us, in um how expansive love is, how expansive the universe and the world is. Um,
Mhm.
I think there are so many, even in nature, um, things that draw our attention to the fact that there is plenty. Like, but it's a radical act of faith in that moment to say, I choose integrity and connection with myself over accepting what someone can't give me. I don't have to belittle that person or make them evil, but I don't have to keep entertaining what I don't have to entertain. And in the coaching that I do, when the exclusivity conversation happens, if the other party can't be all in,
Mhm.
then like that door has to close. And definitely for a time. We don't have to lock it,
Yeah.
right? We don't have to
Yeah.
cement over it, but it definitely has to like for real close in honor of what you need. And so being able to recognize, man, am I trying to is that the tap dance that I'm doing right now? Am I trying to avoid this fear of lack of scarcity? How can I be brave? And to your earlier point, Bridget, I don't think that that happens without people around us to help us. Yeah.
Mhm. So, as people are listening and they're thinking about their own dating life, um, and they feel like me, where they're like, no, there are definitely seasons where have this wall that pops up in my body that goes, don't waste my time. Like, there's this self protection fear that pops up. What can be a first next step after listening to this conversation? People can go home and move forward, hope and healing in that.
Yeah. What a great question. Um, I'll give one that is a solitary practice. And please don't think it's just the churchy answer, but I think really bringing in prayer to the Holy Spirit, that question of like what still needs healing in me? What still needs what needs some tending to? And please illuminate my mind to how you want to tend to me, how you want to comfort and heal me. Because to the point of this conversation, you're only undermining your efforts to try to go out and um, run over this stop. This is a really good indicator that something needs tending. So I think engaging in prayer with the desire, maybe journaling, with the desire to understand what needs to be tended to. Is there a belief that I have that's a lie? Um, is there a relationship that I need to grieve? Is there some family pattern that I need to engage with some? That's a um, one thing that comes to mind is a solitary activity. Um, the other thing I'll say is, and it might seem counterintuitive, but continue like having regular intervals where you do the thing that helps you know where you are. So if you're using a dating app, maybe there's you open the app and you go to swipe and that comes to your mind. Close that
Yeah.
bad boy down. But put in your
Okay.
calendar 10 days from now, a week from now, to try again, just to see what it feels like now. Yeah. How would you answer that same question, Bridget? What's what's a good first step after hearing this conversation to pushing up against and eliminating that don't waste my time disposition?
I just think you have the right to have needs.
Hmm.
And so I think for me, when that gets triggered, it's the fear that me saying yes to new dating connections means that I have to lose part of me somehow. Like, and again, that's very traceable in my primary attachment story of for me to say yes to love and affection and care meant that I had to shrivel and shrink. And so there's part of that gets little Bridget gets brought up in those dynamics and to say, okay, hey, like I think for me, the kind of the self-reflection is and definitely taking it to Jesus and also like telling the little version of me of when you have a need, I'm going to listen to you. So when you say, I mean, even just that example of I had opened a dating app recently and I started to fill out the profile and I was like, "Oh gosh, this does not feel good." And then there are other seasons where I'm like, "This feels so much fun. Like, let's have my girlfriends give their feedback." And really just paying attention to my body. And so like because there was this pressure of like, you got to get out there, you got to get you got to keep going. And I'm like, "Wait a second, like but my body asked me, please don't do this today." And so
Mm.
yeah, just tabling it of when little Bridget comes up and she's really scared of like, do I matter? Am I going to be listened to? Are the grown-ups present going to take care of me? Like listening to that little part in myself that goes, I'm the grown-up now and I will take care of you.
Yes.
Um, and when there's something that you need me to slow down on, like and this is, we'll probably talk about this more in other podcasts or like parts work of like, I'm still a grown up driving the bus. Um, but your opinion matters to me, but it's not going to make all the decisions. So I would say that's where I would start.
I love that. You're not gonna be ignored.
Hmm.
You're not gonna be disregarded. You're not in charge, but you are cared for.
Yes. Hmm.
So good.
Amazing. Well, friends, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thanks so much for spending your time with us today. If this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or helped you feel a little less alone in your dating journey, we'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who might also need the encouragement. You'll find links in the show notes to connect with today's guest, as well as other ways to work with Lauren and me through coaching and other opportunities designed to support you in dating with clarity, trust, and integrity. We believe you don't have to shut down your desire or abandon your values to build a meaningful connection. And we're honored to walk alongside you as you navigate that journey. You can also find us on Instagram at Dating and Desire, where we'll continue the conversation. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.